All right, what's up, everyone? Today, we are going to take a look at Dungeon Full Dive and how you can set up your own campaign inside Dungeon Full Dive. Whether it's D&D, Pathfinder, or whatever rules that you are using, we'll be taking a look at the most efficient way on how you can set up your campaign. So in general, what will this be about? We'll be taking a look at map building, how to organize and set up your maps, how to set up your NPCs, your characters, your character sheets, and of course, how to use the tool itself. Meaning using the player tools like rulers, throwing dice, and how to use the GM tools, because there are quite a lot of them. There will also be timestamps if you don't care about the map building or the character creator. You can straight up skip to the tool sections. Timestamps are down below, and without further ado, let's get started and switch over to one of our devs.
Alright, thank you Rachel. I'll take over from here. Hi everyone, I'm Khang. I'm game designer at TTRPG Gaming Studios, and yeah, let's get started. So, the first thing you notice is that now we are in the main menu. The game is still in early access, so a lot of things might change. So definitely check out if there are newer guides if you're watching this right now. The first thing you see in the main menu is map building, characters, and play. And what we will be doing now is check out map building. So there are 3 tabs inside map building. There's official maps, public maps, and my maps. If you go to my maps and you just downloaded the game, this will be empty. For me, there are quite a lot of maps in there because I have 2 campaigns that I prep and also some backup maps. This list is sorted alphabetically. So one trick that I use is I just name them according to their campaign, so that all the stuff for my Famine campaign is sorted over here, and all the stuff that's for the Anduin campaign is sorted over here. And how do we actually use the maps? So the official and the public maps, these are pre-built maps by other developers or other community members. And because we are min-maxing our campaign efficiency today, what we can do is, I will not be making a map from scratch, but actually we can just take one of them and use them as a template. So for example, if I need a village for my map, I generally do not make maps from scratch. You can, of course, if you want to, but if you want to save time, you can use one of the official maps or public maps. Just straight up look for whatever map you might want to use. If you see one that is interesting for you to, let's say, use as a base for your campaign, you can do that. So I'm gonna take this walker and download this for my campaign. So now that I have this walker downloaded, we can check it out and go over map building tool just really quickly, because map building itself definitely should be its own tutorial, how to master everything. Once it loads, you will see that you have your map building browser over here where you can place your assets. You can edit the existing assets, like just move them around, or delete the existing assets on there. There's also a terraforming tool if that is interesting for you. So you can adjust the terrain here. But for now, let's ignore this and just take a look at this map real quick. So this is a map that the user created. And if I want to use this for my campaign, this saves me a lot of time if I just use a template. But the big advantage we have compared to 2D maps is that obviously everything in here can be edited. So let's say I am playing my campaign where the players are going to a big, very fortified war camp. This isn't fortified enough, but we can use it as a base and just duplicate here the tower and say, okay, let's see if we can have more of these. Maybe add something like wall to this camp, so it's a little bit more fortified. So I'm not going to do all of this inside this tutorial, because this is not a map building tutorial. This is how to set up your campaign. So the only thing that I will say here is you generally are able to make maps really quickly if you use the Yoink and twist. So I would say if you do it based on the template, it probably takes around 20-ish minutes, depending on how much you want to change. If you use a map straight up from the public map, this will be, of course, much shorter. And if you want to do one from scratch, this can wildly depend on how much time you actually want to spend setting up the map. The important thing here is you should enjoy the process. If you like building maps, really love to add all the details and spend hours in this and have a lot of fun doing it, awesome. But if you just want to save some time, use the templates. So much about the map building and the map setup. So now let's check out the character setup. All right, so let's check out characters. The first thing that you will see is there, again, 2 tabs here. You have sheets and you have miniatures. Miniatures are basically all the pre-built characters from developers that you can use. There are humanoids and there are creatures. So the creatures are miniatures that do not have 2 arms and 2 legs and cannot be used for full dive, more on that later. While the humanoid tab are all the creatures that can be full dive. Additionally, in here you can create your own characters and also have publicly available characters that are made from the developers. And they also have character sheets attached, so it's nice to use for like your generic NPCs. I personally prefer to have my own. I just deleted all my characters, so you won't see much there. Let's go through this real quick and take a look. So in the character builder, you can make your own miniatures. So just visually, we have all the characters from 5th edition. So you have your humans, but you also have the half orcs or the dragonborns, and there's a lot of variety that you can choose from. And all of these preset species do have visuals with them connected and pre-configured. You can just set up your character, choose from different body type. You can actually adjust like the proportions of your character, which is really, really awesome. So let's just make this orc a really, really muscular for no specific reason at all. And then, the rest of it is pretty basic. You have your different body parts that you can change out. You can adjust the color, for example, the lip color. You can choose from different ears. And I wouldn't say there is anything that you absolutely need to know for your character creation. It's mainly about, bringing your NPC to life and just, picking whatever you prefer for the campaign that you have in mind. And once you have set up your specific character, what you also can do is add your character sheets. And having said that, the character sheets are optimized for 5th edition. So if you are not playing D&D 5th edition, you can skip this part. But basically, in the character sheet, you can maintain your character, and there is some stat integration which we can show in the gameplay section later. So what I generally recommend is always set up the base stats over here, because the rest of the stats will be auto-calculated. So it's actually not as much as you think. So let's say, these are actually pretty good stats. Very strong. Dexterity is average and quite tanky. And then just set up the level. The HP will auto-calculate. If you want to manually override, you can do so. And that's pretty much it for having this work as an NPC for your campaign. One quick note here, for the auto-calculation, everything that is marked in blue will be used as a custom stat that you can just input. For example, here the stats over here, or the level, and the ones in gray are auto-calculated. So if I adjust something like dexterity, and what you will see is that over here, all the skills that are coupled to dexterity will auto-calculate for you. So that's pretty neat. And what you also can do is you can add spells if you are a spellcaster, for example, Bard, which is pretty neat to keep track of things. And you can also go into the inventory and manage that so that your NPCs are set up. I personally don't necessarily keep track of the inventories for NPCs. As a player, this is amazing. But as a GM, I kinda just wing it when you have your inventory, because to be honest, it doesn't really matter if your goblin has, I don't know, 5 gold or 10, because it only really matters if the party actually like robs the goblin or like wants to trade with them, but that would never happen. And so when it's becoming relevant, I will start tracking it, but before the party actually interacts with this, I kind of think it's overkill. So yeah, let's save this character. So if you head over to play mode, you can either join a game or host a game or find players on the LFG channel, which is basically just a Discord forum where there are open games where you can apply to, or you can say, hey, I'm the game master, I'm looking for players. But what we will be doing is hosting a game right now. So when you host a game, you start with a map, and if we go to My Maps, we can go over to the war camp that we used. We'll change this to be a private game and then just launch into that. So starting with the player tools, what you have here is your classical dice, the full dive menu, which I will be showing later, as well as the ruler. Dice are pretty straightforward. You can select from a D2 to a D20 and the amount. If you press on one option, it adds it to the stack. You can actually combine this. So if you say it's a D8 plus a D4, you can, or D6, you can add this, and then you have them over here, and maybe a D2 as well. And once you grab these dice, you have them in your hand, and then you can throw them. And yeah, the result will also be displayed in the chat. So that is publicly posted, so everyone will see your dice result. That's important. And the other thing is the ruler over here. With the ruler, you can measure distances, for example during combat. Just hold left click and to move it, and then right click to split it. That way you can measure from different points. And if you want to delete the section, just left click again. It's pretty straightforward. There's also a chat where you can write with people. Hello everyone. The other last important thing is your character sheet. So if you have a miniature that you have spawned, so only the ones that have not been created by your game master, you can press on character sheet to access the character sheet at any time, where you can see your actions, you can see your spells, you can see your inventory. But what you also can do is use the shortcuts. If you press C, this will also open your character sheet on the stats page. If you press I, this will open the inventory. And if you press K, this will open your spells. And for the actions, I think that one is actually not bound. But yeah, just a little bit easier to access all these tabs. As far as the GM tools goes, there's a variety of different things you can do in here. So first thing is the map settings. Probably one of my favorite features. What you can do here is, this map right now is in the daylight setting. But what I can also do is switch over and select the, for example, gloomy setting, which is very, very creepy. It adds 4, and also it's much darker. And you can switch over to morning, switch over to night, or rainy. There's quite some options here, and it just adds a little bit of immersion for you when you play with your friends. And what you can also do in here, change the map. So if you press on here, you can see all the maps that you've used previously, and then switch in the new map. Over here in the top right are the tools for map building as well. So if you go in here and select the map builder, you can now edit the map while the players are playing. So example, they start coming across a carriage. You can warn that in for them, or if they roll a perception throw that goes well. I do like to hide important things and just spawn them in when they are needed. So let's delete this again. And that works during multiplayer, which is quite nice. But that's the mode settings, also how you change maps. And the other tool is Soundboard. And Soundboard is actually quite powerful because it has intensity sliders and volume sliders. So what is intensity? If you add music to the game, for example, here the combat music, this is a loop that you can basically just leave on. So start combat music, and then it just runs. I don't know how long the exact loop is, probably a minute-ish, I would say. But you basically don't notice that it's looping. And the other thing that we have in here, though, apart from the volume, is the intensity. So imagine your party goes into an ambush, and then you have the big, bad, evil guy appearing. Now you want the music to become intenser, and this is possible here. If I go from the lowest intensity, which is right now, to the highest, it will actually change the music intensity. So listen. And that's pretty cool if you wanted to reduce the BPEG with this. Super awesome. And if they kill him or the fight gets less intense, you can switch back. And this happens dynamically. But there's not only music in there. Let's change the music to just generic background terror music. What you also have here is the ambience. So right now we have no ambience selected, but we can use something like Forest Day, which automatically adds birds and wind. And again, here we have the intensity. So if you want the wind to pick up because you are changing the weather, you can increase its volume. But also down here, how it actually sounds like. So one good example is the wolves that are in here. On the lowest intensity, they kind of far away, and you can hear them in the background. But if we, let's say, start going into combat with some wolves, what you can do is then increase the intensity, which makes them appear much more aggressive and much more closer. Yeah, so that's the soundboard. Naturally, the next thing we want to talk about is combat. There is a tool for initiative, and there's also a tool for keeping track of the miniatures on the board. So in here, in the miniature overview tab, you see all the miniatures that are on the map. And if you double press on one of these buttons, it will actually move you over to the miniature. So there's, for example, a riding horse. I double click it, I see, okay, here it is. And you can also quick access the character sheet here. So that's pretty neat. But going back to fight, that's over here. If you want to start a fight, let's spawn some more party members, so it's a little bit more balanced. If you press prepare combat, this will open the select combat participant screen. You see again all the miniatures that are on the field. You can add them to the initiative. So I'm gonna pick the party members as well as the wolves, and then you can start the combat, which will automatically roll initiative based on the character sheet of these miniatures. If they don't have a character sheet, they will not get a modifier or their stats. So start combat, you can see they have all rolled and are now put into this queue. If I press enter, this will end the turn for the character and move it on to the next player. So yeah, it's just easier to keep track that way as a game master. And if you are done with the combat, you can end combat anytime. But before we actually do that, I want to show another thing, which is you can actually see the HP of characters inside the miniature overview list if they are damaged. So I can see that Katie is half HP. For the players, they are not able to see miniatures inside this tab except for their own party members. And they will not see it, for example, for the wolf character sheet. This one is at 1 HP. They will not see that this wolf even exists on the map. I can also reduce its HP to 0, which will show that it's dead. So there's some icons, and there's also swords for the ones in combat. It's like makes it a little bit easier to keep track of things. The other thing you might have noticed by now is if I hover a character, I can see its name and I can also see how much HP it has. So, for example, here Kaylee or Gunbela, who is full HP. And this is an information that the players also have. That means if a player hovers over this miniature, they will see it's a wolf with 1 out of 11 HP. Now, question, what if I don't want that? If you don't want your players to know how much HP these creatures have, you can head over here to Session Settings. In Session Settings, you can disable the HP bar visibility. Right now it's set for full for all, but you can also set it to either exact numbers only for GM or for only for GM. If I set this for only GM, only I can see the miniatures. So if I hover over this wolf, I will see this. If my player does it, they will see nothing. And the other setting, exact numbers only for GM, I can simulate this by demoting myself to a player. They will only see the name and the HP bar, but not the exact number values. This is personally the setting that I like the most, because it gives players like insight into how much damage the creature roughly has, like half HP or very low one shot, without telling them the exact number value. And yeah, I think that's it. It's better than actually not having HP bars at all, because then it's just a little bit more of depth to the strategy in combat, but in the end it's up to you. This is a good overview over the GM tools. Now, the other thing that is probably quite interesting to see is the full dive option, because we haven't talked about that yet. So, let's stop the combat here and check out full dive. So, every creature that we can spawn via this map building tool menu can either be humanoid or a creature. Creatures basically means they don't have 2 arms, 2 legs, and are standing upright, because these you cannot possess. And humanoids are everything that has 2 arms, 2 legs, and can stand. And also all characters we create from the character creator are in here. So let's take this Trian and place it. And the way full dive works is if you open the context menu on a character, you can select full dive, or if you select tab menu and then press on possess, then you can full dive for yourself or throw all your players into full dive. So let's do that. And if you full dive, you can see you are now actually inside your campaign. So I'm in my miniature right now, and I can see the NPCs. They now have animations, because if you're not in full dive, they will only stand around on their base plate. But if you full dive, you can see how they are idling, and of course if you're playing a multiplayer, how these people will walk around. So when to use full dive mode. This entirely depends on what you prefer as a game master. I know players that prefer to just use this as a normal tabletop tool, which is fine, perfectly fine, and just use this basically as more advanced Roll20 or tabletop simulator, just much easier to use because it's made for tabletop, and they will not use full dive at all. However, there's also a lot of players that do prefer the full dive mode, and if you are playing in VR, I generally recommend to use full dive mode more, because then it's actually a completely different experience. It's so much more like live action roleplay, than it is with your normal virtual tabletops, which is amazing because you can't have that experience anywhere else. So yeah, on PC itself, it kind of controls like a first-person shooter. So you can walk around with WASD, you shift to sprint or spacebar to jump, and then you can also RP with 2 players. This is a little bit like GTA or Arma RP if you've done that, and this can also be quite fun. In the end, it is a question about preference, and if you are a game master, you can set under session settings either that you control this as a GM, or you can say that they have the full control for the players. That is up to the GM to decide. One last thing for the full dive, as a game master, in the process menu, you can also toggle animations in table mode. If you do this, even if you are in tabletop mode, you can see the animations of the idle characters, but also the animations of your players when they are actually full diving inside the character. So that makes it easier as a GM to see how they are RPing. If you personally prefer as a GM to stay outside in tabletop mode, just for the overview. Of course, if you are a GM, you can also full dive to RP with your players and say, I'm the tree guy, because there is lip sync in the game. So there is some advantage to that if you prefer to use the live action aspect or live action roleplay aspect of the game. And that's it for the full dive tool. And with that, we have pretty much everything covered for the most important tools for Dungeon Full Dive and how to use them. Additionally, there will also be another video coming up with the best tips and tricks on how to build maps inside Dungeon Full Dive for your campaigns, so keep out an eye for that. And of course, if you have any questions about Dungeon Full Dive itself or any tools, let me know in the comments. And if you guys are interested, we might even make a more detailed guide on how to GM as a game master, more tips and tricks, being more in depth. If that is of interest for anyone, just let me know in the comments. So yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. Go check out Dungeon Full Dive on Steam if you like tabletop RPGs, because Dungeon Full Dive is literally free to use. So yeah, I hope to see you inside Dungeon Full Dive very soon, and see you then. Bye bye.